The following disclaimer is for those in California only. Pursuant to California Assembly Bill 2571, it is illegal for the advertisement and or marketing of any firearm-related products and or programs in a manner that is designed, intended, or reasonably appears to be attractive to minors. As such, if you are currently in California, this program is restricted to only those that are over 18. Please turn this program off now if you are in California and under 18. Now, on to the program. Hello and welcome to the centertenspodcast. Centertens is a podcast that discusses small bore and precision air rifle from junior shooting sports on up to NCAA collegiate and Olympic competition. And now here's your host, Adam Pearson. Hello, welcome back to Centerten. The Junior Olympics is underway at the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and the women's portion of it has just completed. The men's is getting ready to start up here in the next day or so. The men are currently traveling to Colorado Springs to get ready for their portion of it. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the women's, both their air rifle and the small bore. So starting out with air rifle, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the top 10 shooters in the three categories, the 15, U18, and U21, and then we'll look at the winners of each category. And we're also going to look at each day just to see how everybody did from day to day. And then, so on day one, the top 10 shooters in the U15 category. So we're going to work our way up. So we had Eva Carbajal with the day one total of a 593.7. Avery Schmidt had a day one total of a 596.3. Kinsley Williams had a 599. Kelsey Dardis had a 599.8. Sarah Mix with a 602.8. Ivy Bax with a 605. Natalie Welter finished with a 613.1. Delilah Music with a 614.3. Hypatia Shen with a 617. And the top shooter on day one was Samir Sandhu with a 619.1. For U18, our top 10 shooters on day one was Mayla Lynn with a 618.5. Gracie Den with a 620.2. Cameron Camp with a 621.8. Elisa Boosler with a 621.9. Ashlyn Blake with a 622. Mackenzie Larson with a 622.1. Mackenzie Crane with a 623.1. Bethany Butler with a 623.5. Camden McFarland with a 623.6. And the top U18 shooter on day one was Emmy Walrath with a 628.3. And looking at our U21 shooters for day one, top 10 was Emma Rode with a 622.1. Gabriella Zeich with a 622.3. Victoria Leppert with a 622.9. Megan Torrance with a 623.6. Lauren Hurley with a 624.2. Elijah Spencer with a 624.4. Nicole Hogan with a 626.1. Katie Zahn with a 627.2. Rachel Charles with a 628.1. Elizabeth Probst also finished with a 628.1 on day one. So moving on to the second day. Now we're just looking at the totals for day two. Our top 10 shooters for day two in the U15 category. We had Edith Lemmy with a 595.4. Eva Carbajal with a 598.4. Kelsey Dardis with a 599.8. Kinsley Williams with a 606.5. Sarah Mix with a 609.6. Natalie Welter also fired a 609.6. Ivy Bax with a 616.4. Delilah Music with a 618.1. Hypatia Shen with a 618.2. And Samir Sandhu with a 621.2. So then moving on to U18, your top 10 for day two, we had Camden McFarland with a 620.7. Alexa Bodrogi with a 620.8. Mackenzie Pruden with a 621.4. Ashlyn Blake also fired a 621.4. Gracie Den with a 623.1. Cameron Camp with a 624.8. Mackenzie Larson with a 625.4, Mackenzie Kring with a 625.9, Riley Passmore with a 626.5, and Emmy Walrath with a 627.7. And for our U21s, the top 10, we had Emma Road with a 622.4, Isabella Baldwin with a 622.9, Olivia Perkins with a 623.5, Allison Buessler with a 624.6, Sophia Cruz with a 625.9, Rachel Charles with a 627 even, Caroline Martin with a 627.6, Lauren Hurley with a 628.6, Elizabeth Probst with a 629.8, and Katie Zahn with a 630.4. So bringing all that together for the aggregates in the U15 category, our top 10, we had Avery Schmidt with a total of an 1189.4, Eva Carbajal with a 1192.1, Kelsey Dardis with an 1199.6, Kinsey Williams with a 1205.5, Sarah Mix with a 1212.4, Ivy Bax with a 1221.4, Natalie Welter with a 1222.7, and our bronze medal winner in the U15 category was Delilah Music with a 1232.4 two-day totals. The silver medal winner in the U15 category was Hypatia Shen with a 1235.2, and the gold medal winner was Samir Sandhu with a 1240.3 in the U15 category. Moving on to the U18s, our top 10 in the U18s, we had Bethany Butler with a 1240.3, Eliza Buessler with a 1241.2, Riley Passmore with a 1243.2, Gracie Din with a 1243.3, Ashlyn Blake with a 1243.4, Camden McFarland with a 1244.3, Cameron Camp with a 1246.6. She was actually the bronze medal winner in the U18 category. Then we had Mackenzie Larson with a 1247.5. She was the silver medal winner. The gold medal winner was Mackenzie Kring in the U18 category with a 1249 aggregate. Emmy Walrath was actually the top shooter in the U18 category with a 1256, but she was also fired high enough to be in the overall finals, so that moved her into the overall category. So the other three were the medal winners in the U18 category. So moving on to the U21s, the top 10, we have Gabriella Zeich with a 1244.2, Allison Buessler with a 1244.3, Emma Road with a 1244.5, Elijah Spencer with a 1245.7, Nicole Hogan with a 1245.9, Katie Zahn with a 1257.6, Caroline Martin with a 1249.2, Lauren Hurley with a 1252.8, Rachel Charles with a 1255.1, and Elizabeth Probst with a 1257.9. So the 8 top shooters overall moving into finals, we had Katie Zahn, Mackenzie Larson, Caroline Martin, Mackenzie Kring, Lauren Hurley, Rachel Charles, Emmy Walrath, and Elizabeth Probst. And in the finals, the top 3 shooters, we had Rachel Charles in the finals firing a 227.9, so she was the bronze medal winner overall. Emmy Walrath in the finals fired a 249.5, so she was a silver medal winner. And we want to congratulate Elizabeth Probst as the gold medal winner in the women's air rifle, firing a 249.9 in finals. So those are all the air rifle totals for the Junior Olympics. So we're going to move on to the small bore 3 position, and we're going to kind of go through everybody in the same way. So looking at the day 1 for U15s, we only had 8 U15 shooters overall in small bore. Working our way up, we had Sophia Bobkov with a 528, and Lalila Mills with a 539. We also had Maggie Moore with a 539, Natalie Welter with a 550, Kinsey Williams with a 552, Samir Sandhu with a 554, Hypatia Shen with a 560, and Delilah Music with a 561. Those were the day 1 totals for the U15s. Our U18 shooters, so our top 10, we had Allison Sutherland with a 574, Mackenzie Pruden with a 576, Gracie Din also firing a 576, Martha Simpson with a 577, Mackenzie Kring with a 579, Ashlyn Blake with a 580. Ziva Swick also fired a 580. We had a 581 from Riley Passmore. Carly Seabrook, a 582. And the top U18 shooter on day one was Emmy Walrath with a 589. And then for U21s, the top 10 shooters on day one, we had Caroline Martin with a 579. We had a pair of 580s from Elijah Spencer and Gabriella Zeik. We had a 581 from Bremen Butler, a 582 from Emma Rode, 583 from Ann White, a 584 from Rachel Charles, 585 from Isabella Baldwin, Lauren Hurley with a 589, and the top shooter on day one was Katie Zahn with a 591. So we're going to move on to day two. Again, we only had 8 shooters in the U15, so on day two, in order going up, we had Sophia Bobkov with a 524, Natalie Welter with a 526, Kinsey Williams with a 540, Delilah Music with a 545, Maggie Moore with a 552, Leah Mills with a 554, Samir Sandhu with a 556, and Hypatia Shen with a 560. For the U18s on day two, our top 10 shooters, we had Lisa Boozler with a 576. Carly Seabrook also fired a 576. We had a 577 from Cameron Camp. Riley Dunn with a 578. We had 3 579s from Kelly Miller, Mackenzie Kring, and Ashlyn Blake. We had a pair of 580s from Noah Mioretto and Riley Passmore. And Emmy Walrath topped out day two with a 585. And then on our U21s, the top 10 on day two, we had Rachel Charles with a 581. We had 3 582s from Gabriella Zeik, Lauren Hurley, and Caroline Martin. We then had 3 584s from Olivia Perkins, Allison Buesler, and Isabella Baldwin. We had a 586 from Elijah Spencer, a 588 from Daniela Jordan de Jesus, and Katie Zahn topped it out with a 594. So putting all those together for the aggregate totals for the U15s, we had Sophia Bobkov with a 1052 aggregate, Natalie Welter with a 1076, Maggie Moore with a 1091, Kinsey Williams with a 1092, Leah Mills with a 1093. The bronze medal winner in the U15 category was Delilah Music with an 1106. The silver medal winner was Samir Sandhu with a 1110. And the gold medal winner in the U15 category was Hypatia Shen with an 1120. Moving on to the U18 category, our top 10 shooters. We have 3 shooters with 1147s. We have Caitlin Sullivan, Elisa Boozer, and Allison Sutherland. Again, all with 1147s. We have an 1149 from Riley Dunn. Gracie Dinn with an 1150. We have a pair of 1158s from Carly Seabrook and Mackenzie Kring. And Mackenzie Kring was the bronze medal winner in the U18 category. With her 1158, she had more centers than Carly did, so that moved her up into the bronze medal. The silver medal winner in the U18 category was Ashlyn Blake with an 1159. And in the U18 category, our gold medal winner was Riley Passmore with an 1161. The top shooter in the U18 category was actually Emmy Walrath with an 1174, but she fired high enough to go into the overall finals, so that moved her up into the overall category. So our top 10 U21 shooters, we have Allison Buesler with an 1161, Caroline Martin with an 1161, and Emma Rode with an 1161. Then we have Rachel Charles with an 1165, Gabriella Zeik with an 1162, Daniela Jordan de Jesus with an 1165, Elijah Spencer with an 1166, Isabella Baldwin with an 1169, Lauren Hurley with an 1171, and Katie Zahn with 1185. And then our top shooters moving into finals. So our top 8, we had Rachel Charles, Gabriella Zeik, Daniela Jordan de Jesus, Eliza Spencer, and Isabella Baldwin all moving into finals. But the top 3 shooters and our bronze medal winner was Lauren Hurley. She fired a 446.8 in finals. Silver medal winner was Katie Zahn with a 461.4. And our gold medal winner for the women's 3-position small bore in the Junior Olympics was Emmy Walrath with a 463.1 in finals. So congratulations to Emmy. So that'll complete the women's portion of the Junior Olympics. We'll go over the men's portion once they're finished shooting. We do have a couple quick show notes. Matt Horst, the director of Shooting Sports Education Center for Georgia Southern, sent on some information about several rifle camps being put on by the university this summer. Air Rifle Fundamentals Camp, intended for beginner to intermediate shooters in a club, high school, or JROTC program, roughly around 8th to 12th grade. The dates of that camp are June 15th to 16th, and the deadline to register for that camp is going to be May 22nd. Then there is an elite standing air rifle camp designed for advanced shooters between 9th and 12th grades. This camp is going to be running from June 18th to the 19th. Then from June 20th to the 22nd is an elite small bore camp for shooters between 9th and 12th grades. Registration for both camps is going to be, the deadline for both camps is going to be May 27th. So information and links can be found for this camp on the show notes for this episode, and for all camps that we already have information for and clinics and other events should be on our Center 10's Google Calendar. So if you go to centertens.com, look for the calendar, or it should be on the bottom of every episode. There should be a link to it. Also, if you have information on camps or anything that you want added to the calendar, you can email it to centertenspodcast@gmail.com. So that'll be it for this episode. And like we like to say every time, the most important shot is the one that is in front of you. Thank you for listening to Season 1 of Center 10s. If you like the show, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast and Spotify. This helps out tremendously. Give us a follow on Instagram and Facebook at Center 10s. Center 10s can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Pocket Cast, and at centertens.com. Hope you join us for our next episode.